Meris Kott joins me now. She's the CEO of Redfund Capital Corp, trading on the CSE under the symbol LOAN, which leads me to suspect that you're in the lending business.
Absolutely. How'd you guess?
It's pretty easy with that symbol. Meris, why don't we start with an overview? What exactly is the business model of Redfund Capital Corp?
We are a merchant bank, but we're mainly a debt facility. What we did is we created a facility that works with companies at the second stage, what I call almost revenues, some revenues, not just visions, and we help them get to the next valuation in their cycle. So we provide them a promissory note. Generally, there's a convertible option to it. We have an equity kicker and a 20% warrant coverage, and we just help them, whether they want to grow organically to look for target acquisition, whether they want to go to the public markets. We're the bridge. In the old days, we called it the bridge financing model.
Sure, okay. So then if I'm a public company and I want to borrow money, you're looking for an equity kicker. You're covered 20% of the face value of the facility in warrants. And what general rate of interest are we talking?
Well, right now we have no public companies that we're funding. Most of the companies we're funding are private companies looking to go to the public market. So
that's the bridge you're providing, is the funding during that process. Oh, that's interesting. That's actually a pretty critical place where I've actually just got clients popping into my head who I'm going to tell you about after the segment. So how much money do you have deployed currently? I mean, as a public company and an investor interested in your public company, I want to know what kind of momentum and volume have you got?
What's interesting is we decided to do it in stages. Our first stage, we closed close to $4 million. And now we're looking for our next $10 million. What we've basically done is right now we have promissory notes out there for close to $35 million. And the reason that we don't have it all deployed is like a real bank, well, I shouldn't say that, like a debt facility, we provide the promissory note, and most of our clients are wanting the debt facility to bring down tranches, almost like a credit line.
I see. So they can do things when they have a debt facility in place that they couldn't otherwise do, but they don't necessarily need the capital right away.
Correct.
And so you're acting like kind of like a fractionally banked capital pool, which is really interesting.
You probably made it sound much better for me. I don't. Basically, what we do is some of our clients want a promissory note for $1 million. So we'll sign a promissory note for $1 million. One of our clients, we signed a promissory note for a little over $1 million. We funded them for $400,000 US right now. They're waiting for the next milestone because our loans are paid with interest compounded monthly. So some of the companies want to make sure that they're able to pay the interest payment. And you know, it's almost like they're not really looking at milestones, but they're looking at positions and cash flow and EBITDA, and we're a collateralized loan.
I see.
So they have to have some collateral, and we don't secure any of the revenues. They're mainly assets.
Wow, so you're covered 6 ways till Sunday. The company has a promissory note that they can now leverage. That's a really interesting business model. The only threat I would see as an investor would be that you might find yourself overextended if there was a sudden general downturn in the whole marketplace that took all valuations lower. But then I guess maybe not, because you're covered by the assets and and you've got your kickers as well. That's really interesting. What's
exciting for an investor in Redfund is we generally, right now we have 8 companies signed. So we have 8 companies, so there's 8 opportunities to look at these companies going forward. We have 11 companies in the pipeline. Some of these companies look to us for business development services as well, so we help them find clients. You know, that's a little bit on the side of it, but as a new company, as a startup, for these companies, they need that help, so they need introductions to the marketplace. So for an investor in Redfund, you're covered. The risk is less, but the exciting part for us is we went public in August, and so what's happened now for us, coming on our next half year, is we're starting to convert into equity in the companies. So Redfund will start having equity positions in some of the companies, so we'll have a bigger upside for our investors. And some of the clients that aren't ready for us to convert, we just keep our cash flow coming in every month with their interest payments.
So you raised $4 million through the issuance of equity in the public vehicle?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and at what price?
30 cents. We're traded about the same price as we started at. We've gone up to as high as, I think it was 40, 50. The market corrected corrected itself, and now we're back to where we're trading nicely, and we're hoping to go forward. We trade in 3 exchanges.
Sure.
We trade in Germany. We're in the next day or so, we're hoping to be able to announce our next status on the OTC markets. We've worked to create a different footprint in the U.S. We don't fund any THC. We're mainly medical cannabis, CBD, and hemp.
Interesting. Well, that's a great business model. So then all of your funding is from equity, so you don't have any pressure from a debt to worry about in the future. And your net asset value is continuously rising as the companies mature in your portfolio.
As we convert into, the next quarter will show a different situation, because as we convert to equity in the companies, and some of the companies do look to the public markets if they choose to, our net asset value, it'll grow.
Right.
You know, it's a different model. It was an interesting model to start with. We find that there's a rise in it because as companies start realizing more revenues as small companies, there's really not that much money out there for small companies right now, unless they're, unless they have, $100 million valuations.
Sure.
And especially in Canada, it's different because we funded one of the companies that came out of the gray market, and they really didn't look to money, so we funded her transition out of the gray market.
Wow, that's fantastic. So that's just a really interesting business model. Who came up with that idea? We
have a team of bankers. They're mainly in the banking industry, and it was something that they did in corporate finance. So it was something that it was a contribution of a team of players. Most of our board members are ex-bankers, private bankers. What's interesting is we're trying to footprint companies throughout, outside of North America as well.
Okay, so how big do you envision this fund becoming?
We have 2 strategies. One is we're hoping that a lot of the that companies do transition to the public markets, so that Redfund will then become a true bank. With a custodian, we'll have a more of a hedge fund look to it. And the other concept that we have is perhaps a bank will acquire us because of our loan portfolio down the line. Right.
Interesting. Well, I got to tell you that I'm interested in investing in your company the next time you do a raise. I'm serious. I love that business model. Okay, so then you focused on the cannabis industry as a lender and just cannabis companies, or other businesses as well?
Our main focus, as we call it, our first focus is cannabis. I think we're looking to emerging markets and emerging technologies. When I say emerging technologies, emerging sectors.
Okay.
What's really excited is our first focus is cannabis, and it's such an exciting sector. Recently, today, we met with a company that we're not going to announce right now, but they're in the technology part of cannabis. So I think in cannabis, we all thought it was one sector. I think there's so many different areas or industries within cannabis that for right now, I think we may stay in the cannabis industry. I like to call it the industry.
Right.
And it's exciting because there's all different countries coming on in South America. There's all different countries coming on in Africa. And it'll be very interesting. Based in Canada, we like to see Canadians, we like to see ourselves strive to the top, and we like to see the market soar here. But I think we're going to be very surprised by some of the little countries, in particular Israel coming on eventually. Their technology has been exported for years. With the vote in the Knesset, it's imminent that they're going to be able to export some of their, pharma products. I think South America, in Colombia, when they're going to start exporting, I think when you look at Chile and you look at Mexico and you look at Peru, I think we're going to be very surprised that some of these countries that are used to growing, that are used to agriculture, are just going to be, are just going to come on, and it's going to be very exciting. For me, being in medical cannabis, it's exciting when recreational became legal here because it helped medical cannabis. It helped people realize that if recreational was going legal, we should actually embrace the medical community as well.
Well, I couldn't agree more. That's great. So you're kind of on the cutting edge of the cannabis industry's evolution, looking for opportunities that are as yet unexploited thoroughly or unknown, I guess?
Being a collateralized loan, having to have a collateralized loan, we have to be very innovative. So we look at companies that are past the mystery stage, that are past the guessing stage. We look at companies that either applied for their patent, have their patent. We also look right now we look at the management of the company, before, when we were looking at different areas in cannabis, we looked at how many years people were in cannabis. It's become mainstream now.
Yes.
So I think we look at the management and who they put on the management and if they're actually actively working management.
Okay. So management for you is key.
Management for me is key. History of what they're doing, history of the management.
Right.
And I think past the dream stage.
Yeah.
You know, we can all make a 40-page presentation, but it's what you have in the first 3 or 4 pages that dictates if it's going to succeed or not.
Right. Wow. Okay. Well, that's really. I'm very pleased with having met you because this is so far outside of what we normally talk about in here every day that it's very refreshing. And as I said, I would be interested in considering participation in your next raise. So thanks very much for coming, and we'll follow up with you again soon.
Thank you very much for having me. Nice to have met you.